So, what is your job?
Pretty good question. Might be a long answer. I am producer on The Windmill. As a producer, you are responsible initially to basically to get the project started, to develop the project. You obviously need a good script. That's where everything starts. Without a good script, you're not going anywhere. And once you've developed the project to a point where you feel confident that it's a good product, then basically you start looking for money, because you need to finance the project. Talking to people, putting all important elements together in order to convince other people that it's a good idea to invest in such a movie. So obviously that depends on who is directing it. What's the cast going to be like? What type of film is it? Where are you going to shoot it? What's the budget? So that's what you do next as a producer. And what a producer does then is he's obviously responsible for the whole project, so he needs to have an overview, make sure that the right people are contracted to physically make it. So you need a good DOP, but you also need a very good first AD who's sitting right over there. That's my job, is to oversee. My job is to make sure that we don't spend too much money. And my job is to make sure that we get the quality that we need. And my job is to solve problems if and when they arise during the shoot.
The producer is important for the organisation of the film. There are other important people required though. The first AD, that's assistant director, and DOP, the cameraman.
So, my name is Bart Bigman. I'm the director of photography from The Windmill.
What made you originally want to be a director of photography?
I think I started out doing photography other than everybody taking a snap sometimes, but I think I started out during my I did a graphic design education for 4 years. And I mean, I've been making films like crazy little films with my brothers and my nephews, and we were really little, but the first serious steps that made me think like, hey, I like this. I always liked designing and graphic designing, and then I started to learn that you could design with a camera and with lenses and with lights.
Yeah, does it annoy you when the director or anyone else has overall say of what you think?
Yes and no. I mean, you can only do good cinematography if you have a good script and if you have a good leader. But I think for me the story leads, and so the director in that sense also leads because he's leading the story. If you're a cinematographer, you want to go very far for getting the proper images. You have a love for making images, and sometimes sometimes you have a schedule. Sometimes the director doesn't agree. How do you say that? You have to find common ground. You have to understand what he wants and try and understand why. And even if you don't, if then still you don't agree, support it. Go with it.
The filming itself is controlled by the director. So this is Nick Jungerius. He's the director of the film I'm currently working on. What is it like being a director?
It's a tough question. It's bittersweet. It's really sweet because you really get to make really nice stories with really nice and good actors, and with this fantastic cameraman and with production design and all these talented people to make sure that you get something on screen that is that is what you envisioned. And the bitter part is that you always have to compromise, and compromises can also lead to really interesting new things which you haven't thought of. But it's for me, it's personally, it's sometimes hard to make sure that you still can tell what you envisioned without too much of compromise.
Originally, when you were younger, what made you want to be a director?
Well, I didn't know what it meant actually, because nobody in my family has experience with it. So, but I was a big fan of films of Steven Spielberg, Jaws, Indiana Jones, but also the Goonies and stuff like that. And I knew that I wanted to make something like that, but I didn't know how that worked and how that worked with a camera, and started to experiment a little bit when I was younger. But it was actually, I think, when I was like 20 that I knew what it was and what it meant to be a director on paper, though, and then I knew I wanted to be one. So it took a little bit longer for me to figure out what it actually meant and what I needed to do to make sure that I got there.
Sometimes hundreds of people can be involved with the making of a film. Lunch is always great. It's key to keeping everyone's energy up. For night shooting, the lighting department have to bring in special equipment. This is the dolly. It's used to make slow, smooth, moving shots. After the film's finished shooting, it goes to the editing process before going back to the producer for distribution.
So you need to make sure that the communication, PR, everything you do is focused on getting the right audience to your movie. Then hopefully it becomes a huge success. And then I'll probably retire somewhere in Italy.
Yeah, that's great.